My love for trick-taking games started when I was very young. You see, my dad was a strict immigrant parent from Greece, and he didn't find joy in many things. He loved his garden where he made fresh vegetables to produce for his family year-round that were absolutely delicious. He loved when I happened to get good grades in school, and he absolutely loved this small card game called Euchre. He would play Euchre at his computer on Yahoo Games for 4 or 5 hours a day, sometimes missing critical family functions, typically with me sitting there watching him. When I finally turned old enough, we started playing at the kitchen table, and those are some of my fondest memories with my father, who unfortunately lost his battle with cancer when I turned 24. For me, trick-taking games are a way to be a little closer to him, as well as to just experience that with more and more people and the joy that these types of games bring. And there's definitely a nostalgic factor to it all. I've played over 150 trick-taking games since Euchre, and although for nostalgia reasons none of them are better than Euchre, these are my top 10 trick-taking games. As a quick caveat, I have not included any shedding games in this video. That will be a separate video, shedding being the concept that you're trying to empty your hand, not necessarily win a trick. To clarify what a trick-taking game is, very loosely, each player at the table will play one card into the center of the table called a trick. That trick will then be evaluated based on a bunch of rules, and a winner will be decided, or scores will be allocated based on the outcome of that trick. Now, every game does this differently, but to start, we're going to get into my number 10. My number 10 is by popular designer Taiki Shinazawa, and it is called No Loose Ends. This is a trick-taking game where you are bidding cards from your hand in order to win a certain number of tricks that meet certain criteria. So, if you're not familiar with must-follow trick-taking, basically when a card is led, everyone else must follow with the same suit if they are able. If not, they can play offsuit. In this game, there is a trump suit, which is blue, and when you bid cards, you are bidding them in turn order from your hand before a round starts. Whenever you bid a card, it's one less card you have to play, but two, you are stating the criteria of a trick you are going to win. For example, if I was to bid a yellow 4, I could either win a trick with a 4, win a trick that is yellow, so I could win with like a yellow 11, or I could win a trick that was led yellow, meaning I could trump a trick with a different color. This will have to be met for every single card that I bid. For every number I hit, I'll get 2 points. For every card that I miss, I'll lose points. And if I hit my bid exactly, I'll get a whole bunch of bonus points. This one's really interesting because you have to like look in your hand and evaluate which cards in your hand you think will win tricks, and then bid based on which cards you think will win using other cards in your hand. So you're constantly balancing, keeping the cards you want to win the tricks you want, while bidding cards you don't think will be involved in tricks at all. I really like the premise of it. It is super clean and super smart and makes you feel like a genius. That is no loose ends. My number 9 trick-taking game is by Stefan Dora, and it is called Skull Queen, not to be confused with Skull King. In Skull Queen, you are playing in an attempt to have your pirates in the right position of the plank at time of scoring at the end of each round. Basically, at the start of a round, you'll place your pirates on the plank, each pirate representing a different suit in the game. Then, based on if you contributed the highest or lowest card to a trick within a certain suit, you will move those pirates up or down the plank. If your pirates fall off in either direction, you can never score that suit again for the rest of the game, but across the 3 rounds, you will score based on the position of where the pirates end up at the end of the round. Each round, you'll be able to reset your pirate's position to however you want and then play the next round with that thought in mind. There are also modifiers in here that force pirates to move twice in either direction to catch people off guard that other players can play in order for your pirates to fall off the plank. This is a very slick design and also a very thinky trick-taking game. It is not quite as simple as, say, like a Hearts or something like that, but so rewarding for being able to set yourself up correctly to win, and you have so much agency over what happens in the round. It feels like no matter what hand you get dealt, you can kind of come out of it on top and play better. You can also flip the plank upside down, reversing the order. So if you have a ton of low cards and you think you're going to lose, you can make it so that low is getting more points instead of high and play accordingly. I just really love this game. That is my number 9, Skull Queen. My number 8 is based on one of the most popular trick-taking games in the world, which is Hearts, and that game is Rebel Princess. This is another must-follow trick-taking game where when someone plays a suit, you must follow cards in that suit if able. If not, you can play offsuit into the trick. This is a trick avoidance game where you're trying not to take cards in the prince suit, which is dark blue, or trying not to take the green frog, which is the green 8. If you do, those cards are worth points, but this is a game where the less points you have at the end of the game, the better you are doing. You are playing as an asymmetric fairy tale princess attempting to avoid taking these prince cards, and you are doing so with a princess that has a special ability that you can use once per round. For example, one of the princesses has an ability that says you can use this ability when you win a trick to shuffle the trick up and deal the trick back out to everyone, effectively adding a trick to the round. On top of that, there are round by round changes to the rules which get revealed as you play the game, which can make you pass cards in certain directions at the start of a round and then meet certain constraints at the start of a round. For example, there's one that states every new suit that is played into a trick now becomes the lead suit. Therefore, you can change what is winning based on playing a new suit into the trick. This change in rules happens every round, and your player power is usable once per round, making this such a cool flavor change on Hearts. This is a really slick game. There's tons of variability. You're so unlikely to have the same game twice, and it just makes it such a dynamic experience. It's not quite as tactical as some of the other trick takers on this list, but it is just so fun, and I definitely recommend picking it up. That is my number 8, Rebel Princess. My number 7 trick-taking game is a game that is super unique from Mike Fitzgerald, and that game is Faux Diamonds. In this game, you are playing around the diamond market, and you are a diamond trader in various colors of diamonds, aka suits. The theme here is actually pretty cool because each suit has a dial with ever-changing values, let's say 7 to 2. And as you play the game, every time a diamond gets sold, you will move the dial and change the value of that diamond. Diamonds get sold by either winning a trick in a suit, and then that player gets points equal to the value, sloughing a card, which will sell a diamond in that other suit and then move the dial, or selling a faux diamond, which is a 0 into the trick, which will then change the lead suit's value by selling a diamond immediately in the middle of a trick. This is super crazy and super fun, and the way the market changes introduces such a cool, thought-provoking mechanism to when you want to slough certain cards, hoping that diamonds will go back up in value, or before they go down in value, basically sell high is kind of what you're trying to do. I love this game. It is super unique. It's generic must-follow trick-taking otherwise, but that game is Faux Diamonds. Definitely give it a shot if you can find it. My number 6 is the rarest game on this list by far, so I have a very similar alternative if you are looking for this type of experience, but it is Atsumare Hero World, which released at this last Tokyo Game Market in Japan. This is a must not follow trick-taking game, meaning whenever someone plays a card, you have to play a card in a suit that has not been played into the trick yet. And you are effectively playing as heroes trying to take out a villain. So someone will play a villain card, and then other players will play hero cards attempting to exceed the total of the villain. The villain cards range very greatly, up to I think 30 points, and the hero cards cap out at around 6. Now, what's interesting is this compares very strongly to a game called Tricky Time Crisis, which you can pick up and is very popular and has the exact same mechanic, except in this game, if you can't play a card in a suit that hasn't been played yet, you can follow suit on the villain's color, meaning you can join the villain in their trick. And you can do this regardless if you are able to not follow or not. So let's say the villain plays a 30 and the first two heroes are like, well, we can't play this anyway, we're gonna play a 1 and a 2. The villain's not gonna be beaten, so you can play into the villain suit and then subtract the 2 villain numbers, therefore gaining a point with the villain. Or you might over subtract and end up losing the trick for the villain. This is super cool and super unique. It's a strong recommendation, but if you can't find it, Tricky Time Crisis is very similar, only differing in the sense of, in this game, you cannot join in on the villain suit, you have to play a separate color, and then you score in this game based on the cards you've taken. If you only have one of a certain suit, you score the face value of that card, and if you have multiple, you score 2 points per card. In this, you're getting points for each evaluation that you won. So if you're on the hero team and you win, you get a point. If you're on the villain team and you win, you get a point. A little more straightforward, but super fun. Atsumare Hero World. Check it out. My number 5 and midpoint game on this list is the only cooperative game on this list, and it is the Lord of the Rings trick-taking game. This is a super cool cooperative game, and I don't typically love cooperative trick takers, but I think this one does something super special in that it makes it interesting as you continue to play, because you have chapters and the game gets harder and harder and harder. Basically, as you're playing, you will end up being one of the Lord of the Rings characters, either forcibly because you have the one ring making you Frodo, or by choosing one of the mandatory characters of a scenario. When you're that character, you will have a requisite for the amount of tricks or the types of tricks or some criteria of tricks you're trying to win. When 3 people all have this criteria or more, you end up in a situation where you have to kind of cooperate to make sure everyone can meet their goal, and it's super smart the way it's been done. I think this is a strong contender. It is very simple, must follow trick taking otherwise, so the puzzle kind of comes in making sure people get the right stuff. Check it out. It's definitely worth the $20-$25, and that is the Fellowship of the Ring trick-taking game. My number 4 trick-taking game is a super unique game designed by Yusuke Matsumoto. It is kind of well known at this point, and that game is Nokosu Dice. This is a very cool Japanese trick-taking game where you're dealt a hand of cards, and then you're drafting dice from the center of the table, ranging in numbers 1 to 6. Dice and cards are the same. When you draft these dice, you start playing a must-follow trick-taking game where the last die you have left, aka the last thing you can play into a trick, which you don't end up playing, ends up being your bid for the round. So you're constantly trying to manipulate the cards on the board and play around whatever die you're gonna have left, either playing all your cards first or mix and matching cards and dice, just ensuring that you win the right number of tricks to match the last die you have. It is super cool, super unique. I love how thinky this one is, and it's also pretty competitive because you can kind of see half of people's hand at any point in time, and because you are able to change your bid as the round goes on, provided you play around the colors everyone has left, because this is must follow, so someone could force you to follow the die you were hoping to save as a bid. Super slick, definitely worth a shot. My number 4, Nokosu Dice. My number 3 is a trick-taking area control game by Iori Tsukinami, and that game is Joraku. In this game, you are attempting to control the various areas of Japan, doing so by playing cards into tricks in a must-follow trick-taking game. When you play a card, you have 2 options. You can either add soldiers to that numbered region, I think they're numbered 1 to 6, or use the amount of action points equal to the number you played to move soldiers around, kill soldiers, that sort of thing. Each round, every region of the board is worth a different amount of points, and you're trying to slowly move all your soldiers, and the points slowly move towards Kyoto as the game goes on. This is super slick because the card and trick play based around, like, if you have low numbers, they're going to be worth more points because you score more later for being closer to Kyoto, which is at the 0. But also, if you have higher numbers, you can do more actions, is super cool. And playing the right card at the right time and winning tricks gives you bonuses, which are in victory points, which are totally worth it because you're doing everything for victory points. I think this is super smart. It is worth a shot, and this is the deluxe edition. It was available on Amazon. It comes in stock every now and then, but if you can find even the standard edition, it just uses cubes instead of meeples, and it's a great time. That is my number 3, Joraku. My number 2 is a game that teaches you trick-taking games and how to predict what people are going to play, as well as being a super unique trick-taking game in its own right. It's designed by Mr. Uchibakoya himself, Tatsuka Chuo, and that game is Tornei. In this trick-taking game, you are playing a hand of 14 cards into 7 tricks, where the first card you play per trick will be face up and will be your entry into the trick, and the second card you play will be face down and will be your bid for the position you think your card that you played will come in the trick. The more accurately you predict that position, the more points you'll get, because if you happen to predict the position correctly, you will score the card you played in the value of the position. So bidding that you're going to come second or third is worth more points. Bidding you're coming first or last is worth less points, but easier to predict. And the more accurately you predict, the more points you will get. Other than that, it's a very simple must-follow trick-taking game where the suits have a hierarchy where golden is the most valuable suit and white/red is the least valuable suit, and you're playing around the table attempting to predict your tricks the most accurately. I love using this to introduce people to trick-taking because it teaches you not only the basics of trick-taking, but also the basics of predicting trick-taking hands very quickly. And I think this might be one of the best, if not the best, trick-taking designs ever made. That is my number 2 game. Arguably could have been number 1, Tornei. My number 1 game is the biggest hit of nostalgia in a trick-taking game I've been able to find while still being so unique, refreshing, and different. And even though it's a bit punishing, that game is Le Plateau. This game is based on the old game of French Tarot, and if you can play any must-follow trick-taking game, you can play this. I'll explain this in 2 parts. Firstly is the trick play. The trick play is must-follow trick-taking, except imagine instead of a standard deck of cards, there's another suit that's added called the trump suit that goes up to 21, and every card in that suit will automatically trump any other card provided you are able to play it. Other than that, it is must-follow trick-taking, which happens to be played in teams, which get established during bidding. And of course, the highest card played will win the trick, but in the team, you are trying to play off each other and make sure that you win the correct cards. Now, every time your team wins a card, whether you're attacking or defending, you will place a chip on this board. There's bigger numbers on the outside for which trick you've won. Say I won the first trick, I might put a chip here. There's the trump cards 1 through 6, as well as the trump 21, which you might play into. And then there's all the face cards, including a new card, a Cavalier, which sits between the Jack and the Queen and is very common in French Tarot. Now, teams get established from bidding, but the one team is trying to make a certain pattern on the board, aka a bridge, like put their pieces in a way that crosses the whole board. And the other team is trying to stop them, aka cut them off from making that pattern by winning the correct cards. The bidding is pretty straightforward. Each player in turn order will bid for what circumstances they think they can win the round with, either making a bridge, which is worth less points, or more and more complicated patterns up to touching all 6 sides, which is worth the most, and then doing it in a trio, duo, or solo, depending on how many players you are playing with. This is a really slick game, and it's interesting to watch how it clicks for people after the first round because it is so nostalgic. Now, this is a very expensive board. It's from Brown Castle Games. I also have the matching deck because I love this game so much, but hypothetically, you could go on Amazon and grab a French Tarot deck for $20 and then just print off this board and print off some paper discs and color one side black and one side white and play this game. And it's super interesting, super thought-provoking. One of the coolest trick-taking experiences and probably the best trick-taking game for 5 players out there. That is my #1 trick-taking game of all time. Sorry that was so long-winded. I'm really passionate about this game. I think it is fantastic and it's definitely worth a shot. Le Plateau. Thank you for joining me on my journey of my top 10 trick-taking games. I love these games so much, and again, they give me such a hit of nostalgia every time I play them. I love that I was able to share some of these with you, and I hope you pick them up and have so much fun with all these games. I'll catch you next time. Thanks for watching. See ya.